welcome to Let's Play Gran Turismo 3, episode 78. And it is now time for the third and final part of the Professional All Japan GT Championship, or Professional JGTC. And officially, up to this point, I have won 5 out of the first 7 races, and I am hoping that by the end of this segment, I will have officially won 6, possibly even 7 out of 10 races. And just gonna check something here. Yep, got the super slicks on. Everything else is normal, and yeah. And let's do this, where we are starting once again at Grand Valley, but this time at Grand Valley Reverse. Which, by the way, is literally the same as the normal Grand Valley circuit, but obviously it's just at a different time of day, and it's also in a different direction to the original circuits. So I want to make that perfectly clear. It's basically Grand Valley again, but it's just the reverse circuit this time over the normal circuit. And already everyone up front is getting sketchy. And, oh, okay, I think that was the Loctite skyline that almost spun round on the exit of the chicane, as we now head through the first tunnel and across the bridge. And already I'm beginning to make contact with the GTR, who now moves ahead of the Honda Roadbrigg NSX. The Toyota Denso Sard Supra runs wide, as of which I had a 16-point advantage going into this race over the Denso Sard Supra, and already the Arta NSX has spun round, so I'm pretty sure there will definitely be more mistakes yet to come in this race, because the AI do not seem to get around this circuit very well. And I'm pretty sure that by the time we've made it past probably the first 4 or 5 laps of this race, I may be able to separate myself from the AI by the time their tyres start wearing off. And the Supra now moves back up to the front. I am officially now down to 3rd at the present time, but that does not matter because I'm pretty confident by the time we've got up to probably the 4th lap, I may be able to make a bid for the lead and then hopefully stay there. Because the AI don't seem to pull themselves around this circuit as well as they might do around other circuits, and that is an advantage to me because I do have a relatively good history of racing here at Grand Valley, as of which I already dart down the inside of the Supra, and I now officially managed to take the lead by 8.5 tenths of a second, but by the time we head down the front stretch, I'm pretty sure I will probably lose the lead again, because since these AI have tuning on, I have no doubt in saying they will probably just literally stonk me down the straightaway. So at the moment, of course, it is 1-2 for the Toyota Supras, as of which there are only 2 JGTC Supras in this game. And I have now separated myself from the leaders, and hopefully this is probably where the lead will stand. As we now head into the chicane now for the third time, and keeping it all nice and tight through there. And just keeping everything in check as I hit the concrete wall very briefly there, and it looks as though from this point onwards I have officially separated myself from the rest of the field pretty much, because the gap is now 3.8 seconds, and ultimately this does play to my advantage because I'm certain that from this point onwards I will probably go onwards to take probably win number 6 in this championship. And I think it's fair to say that because these AI don't seem to get around this circuit as well as the player might do, that does play to my advantage, and ultimately I am pretty sure this is probably the way the race results will stand, as the Roybrig NSX has now separated himself from the Denso Sard Supra, who is running in third. Then I think it is the Loctite Zexel GTR running in fourth, ahead of the Honda Arta NSX, and then at the back I think it's the Pennzoil Nismo Skyline, even though that could be the opposite way round because the Pennzoil Skyline had a stronger start to this race than the Loctite GTR did. And I think it's fair to say that I am definitely, by now, well clear of the rest of the field. So I now lead this race by 6.3 seconds, even though I would imagine as the interval widens itself throughout this race, I am sure they will probably start to close up again. By the time pit stops have been made, simply because I know these AI will be on fresher rubber than I will be on by the time we get to the end of this race. But ultimately, I am pretty sure up to this point that I have well and truly separated myself from the rest of the field. And it looks as though the Arta NSX is trying to look for a manoeuvre on the Supra. I have no idea why I shifted down into second gear as I entered the chicane, but whatever. And at the moment I can pretty much say the positions up to this point have probably been decided. And officially, the reason why I decided to do this part today is simply because, well, at the moment it is literally pouring it down outside my house. Guess that's just the sort of reality we come back to here in England. And not just because we too during summer get thunderstorms quite frequently, but fortunately, unlike America, we do get thunderstorms most of the time with rain. Whereas in America, it's mostly just lightning striking down on certain parts of the states wherever it may be active. And my lap times are pretty much stabilised at the moment because I'm setting mid-149s. Since I separated myself from the rest of the pack, and after 5 laps, I already lead this thing by 9 seconds. And I'm pretty sure that interval is only going to continually extend up to this point, because since I took the lead, I have basically been unchallenged. And even though the Hondas are quicker than me down the straights, oddly enough, I seem to be getting around these corners way the fuck better than these AI are doing. Because even though these AI have got some pace down the straights, they've almost got nothing when they go around the corners. And that's exactly why, up to this point, I have already opened myself up to quite a big fat margin at the moment. So these AI don't appear to be as competent on the reverse circuit as they might be on the normal circuit, but again, that's just a natural thing, because I know for sure there are going to be certain circuits where I will be quicker than the AI, and there will also be circuits where the AI are quicker than me. Even though, surprisingly, amidst all the chaos that took place at Route 11 because of pit stops, I, in some cases, became the upset winner from that race simply because the AI pitted, and also because I was basically stubborn enough to keep the turbo kit on for Route 11, and ironically enough, once I was separated from the AI, I basically just floored it for that final lap, and then once I did, I ironically set a new best lap time in the process on the final lap once I was separated from the AI as a result of pit stops. I think that was probably the only clean lap that I had pretty much all race long. Because I mean, I was literally being bullied all race long at Route 11. And ironically enough, because of pit stops, and also by default of tyre durability, I ultimately won the race by nearly half a minute as a result of the AI pitting in for fresh rubber. And that, of course, ultimately became my first of 5 wins so far in this championship. And since I know Monaco after Tokyo is going to be pretty much a guaranteed win, I am pretty certain, to say the least, in saying that by the time Tokyo is done, I will almost certainly win at Monaco, because once I have taken the lead in the early stages at Monaco, I am pretty certain I will probably just stay there, and then as a result I will probably just be the dominator. As of which, I'm also pretty certain that arguably this race will probably also clinch me the championship as well, because since positions throughout this championship have been constantly changing, even though I've won pretty much 5 out of the first 7 races already, I'm still pretty certain that up to this point in the championship, that by the time I have won this race, since the Supra at the moment is currently in no man's land, I am pretty certain this will probably be the race that clinches me the championship mathematically. Because I had a 16-point advantage going into this race over the Supra, and I'm pretty certain it will probably be this race that hands me the championship. And at the moment it appears as though my lap times are getting faster and faster. And just had to short shift there so I don't touch the grass, and a little bit wide on the entry, but still able to capitalise on that error by using the inside curbs. Already, I can now say the win is more or less going to be mine by the time pit stops have occurred. And a little bit of a touch there from the outside wall, as I wasn't keeping the steering camber on the inside of that corner, right before the second tunnel. Shit. Okay. It's alright, it's fine. I am doing okay. Don't worry about it, everything is fine. And a 22-second margin. After nearly 9 laps in this race. We still have 6 to go, but at the moment I can say I'm basically increasing my lead by at least probably 3 seconds per lap, possibly. Oh shit! Yep, okay. I got that first corner completely wrong there. Don't spin, don't spin, don't spin. Okay. And looks as though this lap just fell apart. And I now lead this by 25 seconds. That is how dominant I am in this race at the moment. As in, like, I am unquestionably dominating this race. Considering I am literally 2 tunnels ahead of the Roybrig NSX at the moment. And it looks as though the rest of the field up to this point has pretty much been separated by default of the AI's insufficiency. I think that's a word, but yeah. As a result of the AI's insufficiency to officially pull themselves around this circuit in comparison to me, which bodes of course to my advantage, and I'm pretty sure that whilst I would think the Supra is currently running in 4th, I would say that is probably going to hand the championship over to me 2 races early. Even though I'm pretty certain after this race my luck will run out. So, 5 laps remain here at Gran Valley. And I got the corner entry wrong. And, oh shit, I forgot to use the brakes. I forgot I had the brakes. Yep, okay. I just completely missed the braking zone. For that first chicane. I mean, I thought for sure I was going to use the brakes, and then apparently my brain just said no. For some reason. Although I daren't ask why. That was the case. So, I think it's safe to say that I've probably got this race in my pockets. Judging by how far ahead I am. Over the rest of the field. I have no idea how that did not go any worse than it did. But somehow that was apparently the case. I have no idea how that did not go any worse than it could have gone. Legitimately speaking. And now, after 11 laps, as a result of Gran Valley's typical tyre wear history, ultimately his AI are now gonna come into the pits after 11 laps on their sets of boots, and officially that has definitely handed the race win over to me, because for two reasons. One, because I'm able to get through these corners a lot faster than the AI are, and I also have the most durable tyres for these sorts of races. And the rain at the moment is really coming down outside my house. It's literally smashing it down. It's literally giving a sledgehammer to us in the countryside. And officially, the Pennzoil Nismo GTR is in the pits, and that means that I am officially going to overlap the clear back marker in this race, as I now have only 3 laps to go in this race. I am a minute clear of the Honda Roybrig NSX after completing 12 laps, and I am pretty certain, to say the least, in saying that I've managed to overlap pretty much one car in this race as a result of my domination. Considering, oddly enough, in the GT All-Stars I did... Considering in the GT All-Stars, of course, I did notably win that race here at Gran Valley Reverse by pretty much an entire lap over the field, because I literally overlapped every other competitor that was in that race, and I pretty much went onwards to win the championship as a result. Even though by that time, of course, I'd already clinched the championship, but I'm pretty sure that up to this point, the championship by now will probably be mathematically clinched, because coming out of this race I will probably have potentially a 21, possibly 22. Oh wait, hold on. Just trying to rethink at the moment. Oh, also by the way, I set a high 148. So, I think it's fair to say up to this point I am pretty much Gucci for the championship. I think I'm pretty much Gucci for the championship as far as I know. Anyways, 2 laps to go here at Gran Valley. The domination run continues, and ultimately I have now overlapped 2 cars in this race. So the Loctite ZXL GTR briefly moves up to 3rd position, even though I would imagine he has to pit in this lap, and that will... sorry, 4th position, because I am pretty sure the Loctite GTR has to pit in for tyres, and then by the time he does, the Supra will probably retake 4th position if a pit stop should happen among the Loctite ZXL GTR, but up to this point in the championship, I would say I am more than good enough to clinching the championship pretty much 2 rounds early. So, if the Loctite GTR does pit in this lap, then notably it will pretty much hand 3rd position back to the Supra, and he does come into the pits this time, as I now officially start the final lap here at Gran Valley, and the overcut could pay dividends to the Loctite GTR because he has done this before, but it doesn't look like it's going to pay off this time. Even though he did notably finish 2nd at Route 11 as a result of attempting the overcut. It did work, of course, for the Loctite GTR, but again, because I stayed out with my super slicks, I was notably able to win the race by default. Even though in my mind, I would definitely consider Route 11 to certainly be the most chaotic race of this championship, because I was just literally being bullied all over the place until I took the lead on the final lap, officially. And then by the time I did, I was basically just left out to stonk the rest of the field in terms of my overall pace, whilst I still had the turbo on. That is literally how dominant I was on that final lap. Anyways, the final lap here at Gran Valley. As I now head through the hairpin turn now for the final time. Got a little bit of wear on the front tyres, but again, it doesn't matter because the race is already over and I have overlapped over half the field in this race. It is victory number 6 to the ToyotaCastrolTom'sSupra. And, oh okay, the Turismo GTR took 5th. Anyways, let's now wait for everyone else to finish, as the Supra just crossed the finish line. But yeah, let's now wait for everyone else. Alright, everyone has finished. And in the end of that, I won by 73 seconds over the Roybrig NSX. The Arta NSX finished in 3rd, ahead of the Denso Sard Supra, who finished in 4th, followed by the Turismo GTR in 5th, and then at the back it was the Loctite GTR, as a result of not benefiting from the overcut. And we now have a tie for 4th, but officially I have now mathematically clinched the championship with 2 races to go. Gran SX clearly looking mightily strong for clinching third, whilst the Loctite Zaxel GTR and also the Arta NSX are still battling for top honours. Nah, I won't save this replay. I think I'll save the replay at Monaco. Anyways, back to the tracks where I know for sure I'm not going to have the advantage, and where the AI will clearly stonk me in response to Grand Valley. It's time for Tokyo. So the championship is mine, with just 2 rounds to go in this championship, even though I still have to compete in both races in order to officially be confirmed as the champion, but mathematically, up to this point, I have secured more than enough points to officially clinch the championship, and it really doesn't matter if I don't run good here in Tokyo, because as a result of my consistency regarding race wins, I have officially clinched the championship with just this and then 1 more round to go, so even though I will probably be nowhere near the pace of these AI, I am pretty certain, to say the least, in empathising that even if I finish last, I will still be confirmed as the champion by at least 3 points. Oh wait, hold on. Yeah, I'm just trying to think of something. I don't think of something, at least. What is it I think of? Oh, yeah, okay, yeah, I've got it now. So, yeah, pretty much in the end of this championship, even if I finish last in the final 2 races of this championship, I am still pretty certain, to say the least, in sympathising that I will still win the championship by at least 5 points, because I ultimately have a 23 point advantage going into this race, and whilst I am pretty certain this race will be an inevitable loss, the truth is, it really doesn't matter, because the championship is already sealed and folded, and the only thing I can really try and do right now is just try not to drive terribly. Which, by the way, is probably what I will be doing, because I don't have anything to worry about for this final race. I don't think. So, I'm not going to push it too hard up to this point, and it looks as though, in terms of myself and my money runs, this is probably going to be where my luck clearly runs out, because I would imagine, even by the time these AI have made their pit stops, I will still be nowhere near their on-track pace, because I'm already 12 seconds behind the Denso Sard Supra, so I think it's pretty clear to say that even if I don't make any mistakes in this race, I am pretty certain I will still finish in last, because His AI are literally that much more superior around this circuit than moi, which is me. I honestly cannot tell if I'm being dazzled by the sun right now or if the rain has actually stopped outside my house at the moment. But yeah, I think it's pretty clear to say that this will probably be the race that my luck finally runs out. And where this is probably going to be the only race in where I will not win any money. But again, so far in the championship I've won 6 races, and as a result of winning those 6 races, in comparison to the inconsistency of these AI, I have ultimately pretty much sealed the championship long before someone can even say that I am officially secured for the championship pretty much long before anyone can even consider mounting a challenge, because I will still have a 5-point margin of victory at the very least, even if I finish last in both this and the final round of the championship at Monaco, which means of course that I will still win the championship regardless of what happens, because I will have at least a 5-point cushion if the Denso Sard Supra ends up winning the final 2 races. But ultimately, because the other Supra has been inconsistent throughout this championship, that is ultimately what has effectively handed the top spot over to me, and officially, without any doubts, this race will undeniably be my worst performance of the championship overall. But it's fine, because I've already got the championship locked up. No matter what these AI do up to this point in the final 2 races, I will still be confirmed as the champion by at least 5 points, even if I do finish last in the final 2 races, which is one thing I'm pretty sure I will not do. Well, not in Monaco, but here in Tokyo I will undoubtedly finish last, because that is literally how much more superiority these AI have in comparison to me here in Tokyo, and not just in terms of on-track pace. Yep, okay. I just spun into the wall. Although it doesn't matter too much, because ultimately the championship has already been locked up, like I said before, regardless of what happens up to this point. But I would say by now that has definitely put me down to the back of the pack, regardless of what happens next. I don't even think up to this point I'm going to clinch 5th in this race, because that is how much quicker his AI are proving to be around this circuit in comparison to me. And at the moment, of course, things are definitely not going well. So I really don't think there's any point in pushing it up to this point. I know I'm going to be last, regardless of what happens in this race, and I'm pretty sure that up to this point in the championship, it's still pretty much all to play for on who exactly will finish 4th in the standings, but as for the top 3, well, those positions have already been secured. So regardless of what happens with myself, the Denso Supra and the Roybrig NSX, we will undoubtedly be secured for the top 3 positions in the championship. Undoubtedly. And I do want to be perfectly clear in those regards. Yep, 46 seconds. I am pretty sure that up to this point I have literally no chance of winning. Even if pit stops do happen, I will still be last in this race regardless of what happens next. Oh shit! Yep, okay. I hit the wall again. And I'm doing donuts. Yep, okay. Just because I am last in the race does not mean that I have to basically fuck up every single lap of this entire fucking race just to show how much of an incompetent driver I am. I still need to get to the end of the race in order for this to be finished. Well, unless I get overlapped, which probably could happen if I keep spinning out. And I'm hoping I don't do that, because unlike some people, I would actually like to see if I can get to the end of the race. But up to this point, I'm close to being a lap down to the Supra as a result of that spin I had. As of which I've already spun on this circuit twice, and even though pit stops probably will be coming up, it won't surprise me too much if I do get overlapped before the end of this race. As of which, I've already spun out on this circuit twice up to this point in the race. And it looks as though going a lap down is probably not too far from the truth. From what I can empathise. But I am certainly hopeful, to say the least, in pretty much outlining that going a lap down in this race will probably not be too far from the truth if I make another major mistake, considering the Supra is now way the fuck ahead of everyone else, pretty much. And it looks as though this will probably be just the critical point that the Denso Supra is looking for, just to basically put me a lap down. Which, realistically, probably isn't too far from the truth. Once I get on to the main stretch, I'll basically just have a sip of water. Again, apologies if my mic is being rubbed by the plastic cup that's in front of me. I'm just having a sip of water. just so I can keep my in-game commentary alive, whilst I know very well that up to this point, regardless of what happens next, I've got virtually no chance of winning. Or any chance of manoeuvring my way through the field any further than I already have. I can also feel sneeze coming on. I have no idea how I was able to drift my way through that corner. Okay, I think the sneezy feeling has probably gone away now, and not far from my best lap time. Here at Tokyo, as which my best lap time is still a 1:37.8. But on that lap, I set a 1:38 dead. As like I literally set dead on 1 minute 38 seconds on that lap. So, I might be able to finish on the lead lap as long as I don't make another mistake, but again, that Supra is looking more than strong enough to probably overlap me before the end of this race. And oh, fuck me. Yep, okay, I am spinning once again, and that is the third time I have spun out in this race. Well, at least if I know I go a lap down, at least if I know I'm going to go a lap down to the Supra, that obviously means that I do not have to go the full race distance. Even though I would imagine a pit stop is probably not too far away from the Supra up to this point. Yep, I am nearly a full lap down to the leading Supra, as of which I have officially spun out in this race in the 6th position pretty much 3 times. I mean, I know it may sound frustrating, but the truth is, I don't think anybody is looking like they will officially be willing to challenge the Supra for first position. He's pretty much in a fucking league of his own up to this point. It's like, he's pretty much separated himself from the rest of the field, and that Supra overlapping me is anything but far from the truth. Because that is how much more superior these AI are at pulling themselves around the circuit than I am. Because I'm having a torrid time at the moment here in Tokyo. Well, at least it's a good thing for me to say that I've already clinched the championship pretty much long before the final round, because of the Supra's inconsistency, and he is coming into the pits. So this could be what allows me to... oh, okay. I'm wrong, he is not coming into the pits. And it looks as though, after all this time, he probably is going to overlap me in this race. And well, I'm not going to fight him off, he's clearly faster than me. So I figured I would just do So I can officially say that I must be at least 3 seconds off the pace in comparison to these AI. As of which, for the first time ever, I am officially 1 lap down in the race. Which means, of course, that ultimately I do not have to worry about going the entire race distance. Considering overall this will probably be both the first and only time that I officially get overlapped during a race. So I am 1 lap down. To the ToyotaCastrolTom'sSupra. Because ironically, overlapping is a thing in this game. And officially, I've now gone from overlapping half the field at Gran Valley reverse to basically going a full lap down to the race leader here in Tokyo. And the rain just started again. And he's come into the pits now, so that would put me back on the lead lap, but it will only be temporary because I would imagine up to this point I basically have no chance of winning this race, let alone finishing 5th in this race. As of which, it will probably be inevitable that the Supra will probably come to overlap me if I spin again, as of which I've done that quite a few times during this race to pretty much showcase how horrendous this race has gone for me. But it doesn't really matter to me because I honestly don't give a fuck about myself finishing last in this race, because it happened to me before. I'm pretty sure it will probably happen to me again at some point in the future. And I know for sure that officially, even though this is the exact opposite of what many of you would be expecting following myself clinching the championship, two races early, since I knew very well these AI were clearly going to be stonking me in terms of on-track pace here in Tokyo, as of which the Supra does now retake the lead as a result of those pit stops, and ultimately I would imagine it is only a matter of time before he comes to overlap me, even though he probably won't, because I don't think there's enough of a margin to officially put me back to 1 lap down. So that officially means that if I can manage to make it to the end of this lap without any major slip-ups, then I may be able to finish this race on the lead lap as a result of pit stops. But the real question is, can I get up to the final lap of this race? I just heard something crack, although it probably wasn't in my room because it is pretty much raining like hell outside my house at the moment. And so I am officially going to finish on the lead lap in this race, even though as a result of myself spinning out 3 times in this race, sure the other Supra, in comparison to me, will probably just be saying to me, kiss my ass. Because everyone else has pretty much finished the race up to this point, and that does mean, of course, that I will successfully manage to finish on the lead lap here in Tokyo. I thought for sure it was not going to be possible, but it is going to be possible for me to finish this race on the lead lap. Although I am pretty much way the fuck behind everyone else. Which proves, of course, that I will probably need a Stage 2 turbo if I am going to win this race. But again, we'll cross that bridge once we get to it. And also, that is a wall. And, oh okay, I managed to improve on my personal best lap time, but I lost that race by nearly an entire lap over the rest of the field. So the Denso South Supra emerges victorious in Tokyo over the Arta NSX, who was second. The Roybrig NSX, once again with his consistency, finishes third. In fourth it was the Loctite Sexel GTR, and in fifth it was the Pennzoil GTR. So a 14-point margin coming out of this, 66 points to my name, although I'm pretty certain that we are more than good enough for the championship, because it's a 14-point margin heading into the final round, and obviously no money, so we don't even get a keychain, but it's fine, because we are going 20 laps around Monaco, and where I am pretty certain I will probably overlap at least half the field in this race, if it's a 20-lapper. But yeah, let's do this. Let's head to the final round of the Professional JGTC, which takes place in Monaco. By the time I manage to overtake his AI, which will probably not be long beforehand, I will pretty much manage to dominate this race. So, even though I finished last in Tokyo, I'm still pretty certain, to say the least, that even if I finish last here at Monaco, I will still win the championship mathematically by 5 points if I get to the end of this race. And already things are going way the fuck better here in Monaco than they were in Tokyo. Probably because of typical AI incompetence around certain circuits. So both myself and the Supra have now pretty much separated ourselves from the rest of the field up to this point on the first lap, and by the time I have managed to take the lead in this race, I will probably dominate the rest of the race. Pretty much under a similar circumstance to how I dominated at Gran Valley because of my alleged superiority. And really had to slam it on the brakes there so I didn't touch the outside wall. And at the moment I am down to second place. But it's fine, because I would imagine it will not be long before I manage to take the lead away from the Denso South Supra. It was actually looking pretty good at the moment. But it won't be long before I take the lead because I know very well that I have competence around this circuit, or at least more competence around this particular circuit than the AI do. And already on only the second lap, right into Mirabeau, I have officially taken the lead. And it looks as though this is going to be where I will stay for probably the rest of the race. And as for the rest of the running order, whatever the hell that might be, ultimately, I will undoubtedly dominate the rest of this race. So 2.3 seconds is now the margin. To the ToyotaCastrolTom'sSupra, and that margin will inevitably increase because I have the most superiority around this circuit, and I'm confident enough to say that as a result of these AI not having the sort of competence around this circuit that I have, ultimately it appears as though I will evidently finish the championship under similar circumstances to how I started it, by basically dominating the final race under similar circumstances how I dominated the first race, by tyre durability, which has ultimately got me into the finishing position so many times in the past. I'm pretty sure that even if I go a lap down here at Monaco at one point, I'm still confident enough to say that I could probably still win this in a 20-lapper, as in, like, if I went one lap down I would still be competent enough to get myself back on the lead lap in an endurance run with JGTC cars and still manage to probably win the race eventually. As of which, I now lead this thing by 6.5 seconds. So, excuse me. So I'm pretty sure by the end of this race, and I also forgot to save the game again before this final race. Although, probably doesn't matter too much because most of our prizes will basically be Japanese touring cars anyway. Although, it probably doesn't matter too much because I am more than certain to say at the very least that I will definitely win this race, regardless of what happens up to this point. I am more than confident enough to say that. Because that is how much less consistency these AI have in comparison to me in terms of trying to get around this circuit. As I now set a new best lap time by 3/10. Four laps are now complete, and officially we still have 16 to go. There's no point in pushing it up to this point in the race because I am certain this will be yet another easy win for the Toyota Castrol Tom'sSupra. As I am now pretty much 13 seconds clear of the nearest Supra, and as of which the pack is actually bunched up at the moment here in Monaco. It's like they're actually not separated by too much from 2nd to 6th, but in terms of my consistency, I am certain I will probably win this championship by at least 5 points if I finish last in this race, but again, I have no intentions of doing that, and I also have no intentions of slowing down. Because even if I'm not pushing, I still need to keep my eyes on the road and to make sure that I can officially get this remarkable race car up to the finish line. And I forgot there was an invisible wall inside of Lowe's hairpin. And surprisingly, it's now the Loctite XL GTR that takes 2nd position here at Monaco, so I think that's fair to say that I will probably win this championship by potentially 20 points if the Supra does not manage to get himself back up to 2nd position. Although, as a result of him winning at both test course and last time out in Tokyo, I am pretty certain that he will definitely finish 2nd in this race, as of which he now moves back up into the 2nd position very quickly indeed, as I anticipated he would. And officially, it looks as though I'm basically going to do what the AI did to me last time out in Tokyo, which is basically just take the lead and then evidently dominate the rest of the race, which is basically what I think is going to happen. As I now head through Portier once again and the tunnel turn, and there is quite a scrap going on for 2nd position at the moment between the Loctite GTR and the Denso Sard Supra. Oh fuck me, I hit the wall at the Nouvelle chicane. Although it doesn't matter too much because I pretty much have a 20-second lead over the two leaders anyway, and ironically here at Monaco there is quite a scrap going on for 2nd position. Even though I'm virtually unchallenged at the front, there is quite a scrap going on at the moment for 2nd position, as it is once again the Supra that retakes the 2nd position. As I now head down into Portier at somewhere under 110 miles an hour, and through Lowe's hairpin I go once again, following quickly by 48 in second gear, even though I did that section terribly. But officially, it appears as though both the Loctite GTR and the Toyota Supra will evidently fight for second position probably every lap, so that must be quite a scrap that's going on for second position at the moment. Even though I'm glad to say I'm not involved in that scrap, because typical AI incompetence around this circuit has allowed me to break free of the rubber banding, as of which rubber banding is not very strong in the professional league anyway, because there will basically be certain races where I will stonk the AI, and there will also be certain races where the AI will just literally stonk me. It's just the way the professional league works in this game, basically. And it looks as though the Supra has officially separated himself from the GTR, but again, the GTR is managing to position himself into a potential comeback to fight for the second position, so there is still quite a scrap going on at the moment, as of which those two have literally been battling pretty much lap after lap up to this point. So realistically, that is quite a scrap going on, and it will probably be a race-long scrap from what I can make out. Here at Monaco, which oddly enough does not happen on this track very often, as of which it probably rarely ever happens on a track such as Monaco, but since Polyphony's version of the Monaco street circuit is better than the real-life version, oddly enough, action does actually tend to happen on this circuit because it is wider, and overtakes can be possible on this wider variation of Monaco compared to what it is originally, because you literally cannot overtake at Monaco unless you make a mistake. And it looks as though the Loctite GTR is officially secure for the second position now, so it was a nice battle while it lasted, but I think the GTR by now has probably secured second position over the Supra, unfortunately, as I now lead by over half a minute. As we now come up to the end of lap 10, and heading through the swimming pool section once again, as of which, even though Monaco in this game is wider than the real-life version, the truth is, because vehicle damage does not exist in this game or any of the previous GT games, unless we would account for damage mode that is, ironically, in Gran Turismo 2. Ultimately, vehicle damage is not a thing in these earlier games, and subsequently it did not officially become a thing in the GT series until Gran Turismo 5, but officially here at Monaco with Polyphony's alternate version of this circuit, I am pretty certain, to say the least, in saying that whilst I am managing to have a much more pleasurable time around this circuit than these AI are currently doing. It appears as though, undeniably, I will probably win again. And as a result, I will probably take victory in this race by presumably less than a lap. Considering it's taken me probably 11 laps to get pretty much half a lap, or less than half a lap clear of the rest of the field. So for anyone asking, these AI aren't off the pace, they're just not appearing, of course, to be competent enough to ultimately get around this circuit as confidently as I am. Which is basically the only reason why I've opened up this much of a margin after only laps have been completed. "42 seconds is now the margin. And even though Monaco is not one of my particular favourite street circuits, the truth is, the circuit itself, at least in the GT series, is actually better than the real life version. As I now surpass that hotel, and I think that's a car park up there beyond Lowe's Hairpin, and I think that one over there is another hotel. And heading under the bridge once again. As I now head through the tunnel, turn once again. And even though Monaco in the F1 games by many racing gamers like myself is despisable, this version of Monaco is wider and somehow better than the real life version. I mean, I'm not saying the wider version of Monaco rules, but I'm just saying this version of Monaco is definitely better to drive on than the real life version. And just as I predicted, 20 laps of Monaco doesn't really make a difference. I knew for sure I was basically going to dominate the race once I took the lead anyway. And I am now just under 50 seconds clear of the Loctite GTR, who has now separated himself from the Supra, so I think that pretty much means that I'm probably going to win this championship by approximately 20 points. because the road brig NSX have won in Rome. Because myself, the Toyota Supra and the Honda road brig NSX up to this point have all won at least one race in this championship, so that's basically half the field. On this grid that has subsequently won at least one race in this championship. Even though I have won 6 out of 9 races, this one certainly looks like it will be 7 race wins out of 10, and I believe mathematically that will put me up to a total score of 76 points, and it will put me 20 points clear of the Supra by the end of the championship. And dependent on where the Arta NSX is won, and dependent on knowing where the Honda Arta NSX is running at this point, I would say he is probably nowhere near the front of the field, because this could, in some cases, decide 4th position in the championship if the Arta NSX is down at the back of the pack, because there has been quite a scrap going on for 4th position, it must be said. But again, that's about the only unsecured position for this championship overall, because the top 3 slots have already been secured, and I would imagine it's only a matter of time before I do manage to overlap someone in this race, because that is literally how dominant I have been throughout this entire race since I took the lead pretty much halfway through lap 2. So heading through to Portier once again, under the bridge, also under the sun. These coming up again. Even though my windows are open, so I don't think it's coming from dust. Oh shit. Oh fuck me. I was just waiting for that to happen. Okay, maybe I won't overlap anyone in this race, unless pit stops happen. Then I will definitely overlap someone in this race, because that is just how much of a dominant performance I've had throughout this entire race. And I'm pretty sure, at the very least, I probably will overlap someone, because that is how much more superior my car is. And oddly enough, I've not even had to use the walls just to get around this circuit, because I've just literally been playing this fair and square. And even though I have done a lot of crashing in this race, by how much contact I've made with the walls, the truth is, it's still pretty much been a dominant performance from start to finish. Because regardless of what happens from here, it looks like I will almost certainly overlap someone before the end of this race. And the reason I say that is because pit stops tend to happen quite quickly here at Monaco, because of how short and tight the pit lane is. Oh, fuck me. And it looks as though it might be potentially easier for me to overlap someone in this race, as of which I think there's probably only going to be one car on the lead lap if I overlap everyone else. Even though I don't think that's going to be the case, unless I play dirty. And that's one thing I don't intend on doing. But again, I'm getting closer and closer to the rest of the pack. Pretty much lap after lap. And it looks as though the Loctite GTR has pretty much separated himself from the rest of the field, unquestionably. And I am pretty much an entire lap clear of the rest of the field. And everyone is just currently running in a freight train at the moment. That is until the Supra overtakes the Pennzoil Skyline for third position. And it looks as though the Roybrig NSX lost out in that melee that just happened in front of me. And the Skyline is now in the pits. It looks like, unless he has hit the wall, which I suspect might have happened, and I may just have to give him a push if he is stuck in the wall, which in some cases I would estimate he probably is. So a push may be necessary if he is stuck on pit wall, so I may have to give him a nudge just so he can finish, even though evidently he will be 2 laps down. And at the moment I'm trying to overlap the Roybrig NSX. He's already secured himself for 3rd position in the championship, so ultimately that is not at risk. And now I just need to try and see if I can overlap the Arta NSX and the Supra. And it's alright, it's fine. Looks like the Pennzoil GTR got himself moving again, so evidently he is going to be 1 lap down, presumably to both myself and the Loctite GTR, as I am still continuing to decimate the field now with 1 lap to go. And overlapping the Denso Sard Supra as I now begin the final lap here in Monaco, and the final lap of the Professional All Japan GT Championship, as I head into Sandevot for the first time, for the final time here in Monaco, trying to keep my fellow Supra that lap down as we go past the Hotel de Paris and now into Casino Square, right before Mirabeau, as we go beyond the trees, and now down the hill into Lowe's Hairpin, right before the Portier, taking these corners in 3rd gear, and into the tunnel turn we go. And now down the hill into the Nouvelle Chicane. And through to back now, and these 2 swimming pool chicanes, as of which there is a swimming pool there. and the Loctite GTR is now in the pits as I head through La Massonnet and the Rascasse now for the final time. Looks as though the Pennzoil Skyline is going to get his lap back. I'm just going to narrowly miss out on overlapping the Loctite GTR unless I already got him. Did I get him? Yes, I did. I overlapped the entire field in that race as a result of the Loctite GTR making his pit stop on the final lap. And let's now wait for the Pennzoil Skyline to finish. There we go, everyone has finally finished, as of which the Pennzoil GTR stayed only one lap down. And officially, as a result of the Loctite GTR pitting in on the final lap, I just managed to overlap the entire field, which is one thing I did not think I was going to do. And so these are your final point standings. So 76 points to me, 56 to the Denso Sard Supra, a 20-point margin of victory in the end. The Roybrig NSX finishes third with 45 points. The Loctite GTR eventually finishes fourth over the Arta NSX in a tiebreaker as they both had 33 points. And then at the back with, how many points was it? Was it like 18 points? Oh, I don't know. But, and at the back it was clearly the Pennzoil GTR, and just before I forget, I need to save a replay. And so, there we go. Another championship event is done, and ultimately, another championship dominated. And we get the ribbon, and we get the ribbon trophy with 250,000 credits. I will basically take whatever the fucking hell I can get. And what car do we win this time? Oh, okay. We win ourselves a GT300 car from this championship. Nice. Very nice. So that's what we win. And in the end of that, I won 7 out of 10 races. And any races I didn't win, I finished in either 4th, 5th or 6th, as you can see there. But ultimately, all we have to do now is the World Championship, which is coming up next. And so, in the end of that, my win ratio has not moved down or up, and we only gained 0.3% following that championship. But officially, this is the prize car we win. A Toyota Super Autobacks Apex MRS. And so, following this, I now have both of the GT300 cars. Nice. Very nice. And I probably will have some usage for this thing in the future. But that's for another time. Anyways, I'm done. So, next time we will be doing the Professional GT World Championship, which will be a 2-part segment, so stay tuned for that.